Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of The Rundown. I'm Sunny Galt. I'm a messenger with United Network News. We call ourselves UNN, and we are the official news channel for CARE, which stands for the Center for Amity and Restoration of Earth. And what we do is we discuss the real news. So we have a newscast that we release through our online distribution platform at unitednetwork.tv. Our newscast comes out every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. The length of it varies. Most times it's around an hour and a half, perhaps even longer than that, because we've got a lot of information to tell you guys. And we say we cover the real news, and that's really important because you don't get a lot of real news out there. There's a lot of people yapping, but most people aren't saying anything worthwhile. And that's because there is so much control over media worldwide. But I think our eyes have really been open to this here in the United States within the last handful of years, right? And it's just getting worse and worse. And if you are watching mainstream media or you are watching someone's video that's part of the alternative media and they have a decent sized audience, then trust me, everything you're consuming is controlled. And I don't mean just controlled by the people that are putting it out. I'm saying that there are people behind it that want you to believe a certain narrative. Our news is not really news. So when we say we discuss the real news, that's why that's our tagline, because it is so important. And you don't know what you don't know, right? So on this podcast, we highlight some of the stories that we cover on our newscast, and some of the stories are local stories. Those are brought to you by our field messengers, which are people just like you who pick up their camera meaning, that thing that you can call people on as well. They pick up their camera and they show us what's going on. We also have our New Earth stories, and this is to motivate you guys and inspire you because we have an amazing planet that needs renovated. You guys ever had like a really big renovation project? Okay, well, the Earth is basically the biggest renovation project anyone's ever seen, at least here on this planet. And we have to think about how have we been doing things in the past and how do we want to do things moving forward? So those are the kind of stories we explore in that segment. Then we cover regional stories, and we divide this up according to, different regions on the planet. And we focus on stories that impact the people because that's all that really matters. Like, who cares what government heads are saying? Like, nothing they say matters. They're all just puppets anyway. So we quit covering them a while ago. And then we have our World Situation Report, and that's with Kimberly Gogan from the Office of the Guardian. And if you're not familiar with our news, that will really blow your mind. Your mind. That will really blow your mind because we talk about stuff that you're absolutely not going to hear anywhere else. And it's not just focused on our planet, but the multiverse as well. And it really gets you thinking past, just focused, like being self-absorbed and focused on our planet. And we realize everything that happens on Earth here, we are what's known as a gateway planet. And if it happens on Earth, it can happen in these other places as well. And so that's why there has been this huge battle between good and evil on our planet. So we need to know like how the things we're doing here are impacting the entire multiverse, right? So you may be wondering, how do you have access to this information? How in the world do you even get access to this type of information? And what I can tell you is we have the highest security clearance on the planet. And that is done through the Alpha system. You'll hear us talk about that a lot. And it gives us access to hear what's going on in different meetings, to be able to plan different kind of strategies and understand the outcome of that. I mean, I know like a fraction of what the Alpha system does. Kim runs the Alpha system and could explain it much better, but it's something that we really can't fathom this kind of technology because we have not been exposed to this kind of technology before. But it is all organic, the Alpha system is, and it is run on crystalline energy. So that is God energy. And you cannot operate the Alpha system if you have negative intent. And if you are, let's say you have too much dark inside of you, you can't possibly make it work. So it's foolproof, right? But whatever we say here, I just want to encourage you guys, it's going to be stuff you haven't heard. Think critically about this. Don't just believe it because we say it or someone else says it. Doesn't matter. You have discernment within you, and you have to discern this information. And if it doesn't sound right away, just sit with it. Maybe, you need to know some more things. Maybe you need to discover more before this is going to make more sense. But I encourage you to stick with us, ask questions, do some research online. Some of this stuff you can find information. I wouldn't use the good old Google necessarily because they're still filtering quite a bit, but you can usually find some of this info online. So do your due diligence. All right, let's get going. This is the rundown for Friday, December 15th, 2023. All right, so we kick off our newscast with our field messenger reports. And like I said earlier, you don't need to have special equipment to do this. You don't have to have special training. That's not the point. The point is to be as real as possible. And so we have these handy dandy cameras that are built into our cell phones. So why not use them for good? And that's what our field messengers do. If you want more information on this, you can go to the news portion of our site, which is unitednetwork.news. There is a section at the top called Field Messengers, and you can learn all about us and, how to submit stories and all that good stuff. The two stories that I want to talk about today that we aired on the news, yes, they are more visual stories. So I do encourage you guys to actually view these reports, which you can actually do without a membership to unitednetwork.tv. That is through a Telegram page, which I'll tell you a little bit more at the end of this podcast episode. But you can view these for free. We always make our field messenger reports available for free because, they're giving their time and it's really important. So our first report is from Klaus in Austria, and he shows us his area of the woods. He lives in an Austrian village. And by the way, he is a type of physician. He called himself a doctor of osteopathy, I believe he said. And the area that he's showing us is the lower area of Austria. It is known as the wine area. And I thought it was really funny because in his story, he said, in this area, you've got wine in every mouth and every hand, and I just pictured these little kids drinking wine. That's normal probably over there, right? But he just shows us the area. You see a lot of, vineyards and different types of grapes. And he talks a little bit about that. And he also stressed the fact that there are a lot of small growers in that area, which is great, right? You don't have to have a super, big vineyard. I've always thought that would be cool to kind of look out your house, your window, and just see miles of vineyard. I always thought that would be really cool. And apparently that's what you get in this Austrian village. So thank you, Klaus, for your report. The second one comes from Rebecca, and I don't think Rebecca is from Egypt. I'm not sure if she's just visiting, but anyway, she said Rebecca from Egypt. So she shows us around Cairo, specifically the architecture. So she went to one of the oldest city blocks where there are many churches. And I think she showed us 2 or 3, the outside of different churches. And some of them, they had these walkways with these beautiful gardens. And we were just kind of looking at the architecture and learning a little bit more. I think we went to a couple parks and places where people could just kind of sit and meditate. And, it's just really pretty when you go to these older sections of cities. Just look up and just notice the architecture because they don't build them like they used to. You know what I mean? In the New Earth segment on today's newscast, we have an interview. I did an interview with Jay Hein, and he is out of the Netherlands, and he focuses on frequency. If you guys want to check him out, his website is schooloffrequency.com, I believe. And by the way, all of our information for all the experts that we have, the people that we interview that are part of the New Earth, there is a section on the website for all of that. So if you ever see anyone that I'm interviewing and you're like, oh, I want to learn more about them, it's all on unitednetwork.news. Just click on the New Earth. So I'm talking with Jai about frequency, of course, and we're saying that frequency is everywhere. We already know that. But this particular interview was about ways to naturally tap into frequency. Like, how do we do this on a day-to-day basis? If we don't have one of those, cool devices where, you can change frequencies and do all that kind of stuff, how can we use this? What are some practical ways to use this? So Jai talks about a couple different things. We talk about sunsets and sunrises, because that is a great way to tap into frequency. Your cells recognize the light basically as pure vital life force, and it just energizes your entire body. It can take away sleep disturbances, depression. You guys may be familiar with the term sun gazing. That's kind of what I'm talking about. You don't want to hurt your eyes. You don't do this at like noon or something like that. But when the sun is coming up or coming down, there's nothing better than just gazing into the sun. You kind of get lost in the sun, and that's because your body knows how good it is for you. He talked about a couple other things, something he calls liquid lifestyle, which is kind of a quirky term that just means consuming more liquids instead of solid foods, because the whole digestive process requires a lot of force and energy. And so if you take that pressure off your body, that's actually, tapping into frequency and helping your body use the frequency for other things. So he talked a little bit about that. And then he talked about the nervous system. And the best way to regulate your nervous system is through breathing, which most of us don't even think about because we naturally breathe, right? We're breathing when we're sleeping. We don't usually think about this. But if we can be mindful with our breath, we can have a lot of control over that. So those are a few tips. And again, I encourage you guys to check out the actual interview because he said some other things as well that you may want to know. As far as the other stories in the New Earth segment, we've got a few. The first one is about repurposing wind turbines. So we haven't done a ton of stories about all these windmills that have been built, right, to be like a more green source of energy. But what's about to happen is a lot of those turbines for those machines are about to be decommissioned. And that can be kind of a problem because, of course, even though this is supposed to be a green solution, they didn't have a way to recycle this, right? So about 40 million tons of fiberglass waste is expected to be created within the next 20 years as they kind of, cycle these out. And so you have a couple of companies that are finding ways to reuse these old blades, which that's kind of what we're giving credit to in this story. We're trying to get people to think, okay, what are some of the problems we're going to have? How do we overcome some of these problems? And what they're doing is they are basically finding ways to recycle this to be used as additives in concrete and asphalt. And they basically transform these old blades into high-performance reinforcement fibers, which enhances and strengthens the concrete and asphalt and makes them more durable. And this is great because you don't have, heat and chemicals and other ways to kind of recycle stuff that can actually be really harmful. It's also bad if it ends up in a landfill or if you have to incinerate it or something like that. None of that is really good for us. So we want to give credit to those companies that are kind of thinking in advance about what to do with these wind turbines or turbines. Turbines. Tomato. Okay, next story. Interim parenting. So I don't know if you've heard of this term before, but again, this is, raising awareness about something that we feel is important in our society. Interim parents are a bridge between birth parents and potential adoptive families. So if someone gives birth to a baby and they're like, I don't know if I want to, keep this baby, what do I do? And they're, that could take a little bit of time. That's not a decision you make overnight. And we know that there are a lot of families out there that want to adopt, but you need a safe place for children during this transition. And it's really about taking care of not just the physical side of things, but the emotional needs of children during those final stages of adoption. It's one of those things you don't really think about unless you're really familiar with this whole process, but it makes sense, right? We need a place for these children to go. And the story highlighted a family that really kind of figured out a flow of doing this and became champions of what they were calling newborn transitional care. So exactly what I said before. A mother has a baby and she's just not sure what she's going to do with it. Allowing it to go to this family or other families like it gives birth mothers time to think about what they want to do. And, God bless these families that can do that because they know this is not long-term for them. But what they were talking about is because these birth mothers had some extra time to think things through, sometimes, the answer was to give the baby to an adoptive family, but sometimes the birth moms came back and, they were just kind of freaked out there for a little bit, but then they were able to raise their own kids. And so just kind of a beautiful highlight of kind of the unsung heroes and people that are kind of connecting the dots to help improve family life. And our final story, I love this one. So Charlie Jeffers is a high school senior, and he started this initiative. It's called Pass the Bricks. It actually started back in 2020. I'm sure there's some sort of, pandemic theme there. And what he did is he created this idea of refurbishing used Lego bricks, those blocks that parents step on in the middle of the night and scream profanities. Well, he figured out a way to refurbish those and give them to underprivileged children. So there's a whole process for this because you are essentially recycling in a way, right? So there's the collection of the Legos, the sanitation of the Legos, the reconstruction of the Legos, and then the distribution of them. And he and his group have distributed more than 3,055 sets. Who knows how many Legos that actually is, but sets of Legos to these underprivileged children. And he's partnering with other people to do it. It's just a beautiful thing. And you guys, it is a high school senior that's doing this. So it's just amazing what you could do when you see a need and you figure out, okay, well, how can this need be met? What can we do? And not only is he doing this on his own and working with other programs or stuff, but he's also setting up a template for other people that want to start doing things like this in their own community. And you can actually do it right from home. So again, just another way of, improving the lives of people that, Legos are expensive. I don't know if you've ever bought Legos, but I've always been amazed at how expensive it is. And, a lot of underprivileged children may never have a chance to have their own set. And through Charlie's program, they now do. In our regional stories, we have 4 stories we're going to go over today. So these are stories that impact the people from all around the world. And we're going to start off in the UK because they are struggling right now. It's actually not just the UK. There are millions of Europeans that are struggling with healthcare costs. And that includes paying upfront as well as not getting reimbursed when apparently they were supposed to be reimbursed for medical costs. And sometimes this can exceed 40% of a person's total income. Now that's crazy. And this article goes over some of the most severe, like the countries that are impacted the most by this. And I'll read those to you. Armenia, Bulgaria, Georgia, Latvia, Lithuania, Ukraine. Up to 14% of people are impacted by this, meaning 14% of them their medical costs are exceeding 40% of their income. I mean, obviously this needs to be fixed, right? And then it also goes over the least severe, which are Ireland, Slovenia, Spain, Sweden, and the UK. All of those places are under 2% of people impacted. And we know that our our medical system has to change. Here in the US, it has to change as well. And so this is just drawing attention to that. And obviously through care and assurance, we do have a plan for getting free health care. And this is not some socialist program, so don't worry about that. But getting free health care to people all around the world, because this is a major issue. Next story. Iran has lifted visa requirements for 33 different nations, including its once adversarial neighbors, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Qatar. So the whole idea behind this, and we've reported this, there have been other places that have done this as well, but they're trying to make it easier to travel. I think, was it on Wednesday we talked about, was it Kenya? I believe it just did the same thing. They want more people to travel. They're trying to enhance tourism and the cultural exchange that goes along with that. They did say that Russia travelers will only benefit if traveling with a group. So I guess if you're, just a citizen of Russia or coming from Russia, I'm not sure exactly how that works, then, you may not be able to benefit from this unless you're with a group. Croatia is the only Western allied European nation included. So there you go. Iran is lifting some visa requirements. Next, we have an interesting approach to improving the prison system, and this is in Senegal. So they have overcrowded prisons. Most places do have overcrowded prisons, and they now have this new pilot plan or program that really takes advantage of ankle monitors, those pretty little anklets. I was going to say bracelets, but it's more like an anklet. You've seen them in different kinds of scenarios. We use them here in the U.S. as well, probably not nearly as much as we should, but they are using ankle monitors to track detainees. Now, this is not for heavy offenders, okay? This is mainly impacting people who are in prison for petty crimes or they're awaiting trial. And critics of this say it does not address the root causes of overcrowding, which they have a good point here. So some of these root causes are having harsh penalties for minor offenses, right? So someone does something that doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but there's a huge penalty for it, which includes prison time. So obviously that's going to lead to overcrowding, as well as slow judicial systems. And holy cow, our judicial system, I can speak for us here in the U.S., it is ridiculous, to get a court date and things get pushed back and all that kind of stuff. So all of that is going to lead to prisons being overcrowded. So as part of this program in Senegal, they are currently monitoring 240 people. They believe it's going very well. They have the capacity to oversee 1,000 people. So again, for a small country, this is working. It's kind of interesting to see, what these smaller countries are doing. Could this be applied to a larger country, with some tweaks and things like that? Who knows? But again, thinking, outside the box, what can we do? We know the prison system is broken. And our final story is about Tesla. So all of you Tesla lovers out there, especially if you are in the U.S., they are recalling 2 million cars in the U.S. That is the majority of vehicles sold in the U.S. So this is not a good day for Tesla. There are safety concerns, and these were brought up by the National Highway Safety Administration, and this is regarding their autopilot software. It has been known to go rogue. In fact, this whole system has been under scrutiny for 2 years now. There have been several reports of fatal accidents when autopilot is initiated, when it is turned on. And I don't know about you, I am not a fan of Elon Musk. I interviewed his babysitter, probably was a couple years ago now, and she told me horror stories about how Elon used to play with demons as a kid. So I don't care what white flag he's waving. I don't trust this guy whatsoever. So if he's going to create a car where everything can go on autopilot, I got some more red flags. I have some red flags with all of that. So, I think this is also about sovereignty in some way. Completely giving up something like that where someone could manipulate and trust me, Don't think for a second that there isn't a back door to get into those Teslas to completely take over your car and do whatever they wanted to with you. All right? Because they have kill switches in all of our cars now. Kill switches meaning the engine and everything, is just disabled. So they can't necessarily drive you somewhere, but they can make sure you don't go anywhere. And that is in all of our cars right now, unless it's like super duper old. Most people don't even realize that. So this is very concerning. In the future, I believe we are going to have ways of transportation that rely upon our own intelligence to essentially steer or drive the vehicle. Maybe it's not a car. Maybe it flies in the sky. I mean, there's a lot of other options, right? With our own mind. Now, that is totally different. That technically is kind of autonomous, but if it's using your own consciousness, I don't got a problem with that. There's no issue there. But I'm not going to let Tesla take over my car, and we're seeing problems with this. So back to the recall, guys. This is the largest in Tesla's history. And if you're wondering which cars it impacts models Y, S, 3, and X, which are produced between October of 2012 and December of 2023, this month. And if you do have a car that falls into, that category, then you just need to visit a service center and get some updates and fixes and cross your fingers that everything is going to be okay. And now for the World Situation Report, again with Kimberly Gogan from the Office of the Guardian. So the deep state is at it again. They've got their little cute clock, which I actually have open on my computer screen right now. It says in 1 hour, 9 minutes, and 37 seconds, it says Y2K3 blackout confirmed. Phase 1 now active. It's coming. What's coming? It is so easy to create a website like this, you guys. Yet I don't even know how many people are fixated on this thing right now. Nothing is going to happen. Nothing. This is a lot of hype. Now, they want a lot of stuff to happen, but nothing's going to happen. They have zero control. So in the World Situation Report today, we actually start off by talking about the Rothschilds, which I know we're all kind of sick to death of talking about the Rothschilds, but they are making a bunch of claims right now that help is on the way. They have been in touch with the aliens, and the aliens are going to save the deep state and blah, 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 blah. And it's amazing that anyone is still listening to them, but apparently they still have some street cred. So here is Kim explaining what the latest lie is from the Rothschilds.
Okay, let's start with the Rothschilds claiming help is on the way.
Again.
Yes. So as a byproduct of what we talked about on Wednesday with the Silent Circle figuring out that they've been lied to and that there's no bad aliens, in response to that, a small group of Order of the Dragon people, so it's not just people bearing the last name Rothschild, the Line of Solomon people, whatever you want to call them, decided to, and they know that they are lying. Mm-hmm. Okay, they absolutely know within this inner circle that they have told the entire group of whoever's listening to them still a lie. They told them that they have reached out and called the aliens and that it's not going to happen the way they thought it was, where they would come in through a portal like in Israel that they've been trying to open now for 2 months and or probably longer than that. And it's not going to happen through like one of the pillars that went to like 33 Thomas Street like they thought. Instead, it's going to be a giant ship that is going to arrive here in Earth, and that they are going to give them their side help. They're coming to help them. I know that look on your face was the same look I had on my face when I heard it.
Where are they getting this information? Are they literally just making this up?
Yes, they are making it up. Amongst the inner circle, they absolutely know they are making it up. Now, in their peripheral, a conversation was had with someone who still believes wholeheartedly in these people. And the conversation kind of went like this. So he reports to us that the aliens are on the way and that the ship is coming sometime between the 15th and the 16th is what they're estimating.
Of December.
Yes. So the question was asked, will we be able to see this ship? I mean, we should get some binoculars out, a telescope, something, to see this, marvel. No, you won't be able to see it, the man responds, because they probably have cloaking technology or something or other. So then we asked this person, well, if that is the case, then how do you know that you actually have help? Well, they'll tell us when it comes. I'm like, oh, okay. They'll tell you when it comes. So you're just supposed to believe that it's here. Yes, we're supposed to believe that it's here. Oh, okay. And this person said that they are going to do their part anyway as soon as they're called upon. And so we asked, what is your part? And they said, oh, we can't tell you. Yeah. So that means what you're going to have in the next 24 or 48 hours is you are going to have some weirdo that is going to tell them it's here, even though they have no proof, no electromagnetic proof, no NORAD scanning device that can prove that something has arrived, and no proof of claim that someone or something has arrived.
Okay.
Now, in the financial aspect of things, the Federal Reserve and the Treasury, mainly the Fed, is expecting a windfall to happen sometime over the weekend. So that is the reason for the release of the interest rates yesterday, which just stayed flat, but they're going to increase them in 2024 with the threat of that. Now, this is all coming, of course, from the same people that lied and said aliens are going to come and fund the financial system. Yes. Do they know all this? Yes, I bet you they do. I know that probably Powell and about 2 other of the board of directors of the Federal Reserve absolutely know they're expecting an alien savior to come this weekend. Because why not? They come for, the last day celebration of Hanukkah. I mean, that's what they think about. To further this craziness, you have some Trump operatives that are intertwined with the SSP military groups, the Secret Space Program military groups, and they are also trying to phone ET, hopefully in an alternative galaxy somewhere. That's what they think they're doing. And they tried to reach out and ask them if they would assist them with Trump bucks.
My gosh. They tried to reach out to the aliens.
Oh, yes. This just happened this morning. I'm like, I even said the same thing. I said to myself, I'm like, you're going to call an alien raid. And the only thing you want to talk to them about, like it's be your first contact, with others from another location, good or bad, Right. And the conversation you want to have with them is, will they assist you with Trump bucks?
Oh, my goodness.
It's almost embarrassing to be a human at this point. You know that?
Yeah.
I mean, not really, because they didn't actually reach out to anybody. That line has been closed forever, but we did pick up on the signal, and I'm like, Trump bucks? Really? I still am, amongst the many roles that I have, I'm still the ambassador on behalf of this version of humanity to the Universal Council. Let us not forget. So when these people pick up the phone and talk ridiculousness, I get the phone call from the council.
Oh, my gosh.
Yes, I do. So it didn't go anywhere. I don't know what these people are doing at this point.
I don't think most of us understand what they're doing at this point. It sounds so ridiculous. We are waiting for aliens to come save us. That's what the deep state is essentially doing. Well, on one hand, they're not. They are using that as an excuse. Like the Rothschilds are using that as an excuse to buy them time, blah, 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 blah. And they know it's a lie. Now, the Trump operatives really are trying to reach out to some sort of ET for Trump bucks. I mean, it's kind of mind-blowing. So let's talk about something that is a good mind-blowing instead of deep state BS, okay? Let's talk about the blast of light that we are getting from source right now, God, creator of the universe. This is going really well. So if you haven't heard, we are getting a huge blast of source energy over these next couple of weeks. We've talked about it, I believe, at least on the last newscast, maybe the last couple newscasts, I think that we've talked about this. And things are going well. And we're kind of like, while the deep state is doing, like they're in crazy town over there, we are moving into our own little world, our own little, I don't want to call it a bubble because that makes it seem like we don't know what's going on in other places, but it is our own little haven. Okay, let's look at it that way. And we are creating a light system. We've talked about how we have already transitioned from a dark age into a light age. Well, now the Earth is transitioning into a light system because it had a very dark system prior. And that was called Omega. And that is the opposite of Kim's Alpha system. Well, Omega does not work anymore. But there are still remnants. There are still areas of dark matter and things like that that need, basically, we need a giant flashlight of the light to shine on this and move us completely into a light system here on the planet. Now, this next soundbite that I want to play is something interesting that Kim found as part of this whole process. She mentions that we are now at 87% towards achieving this complete light system on Earth. But we actually had to break through a barrier to get to 87%. Something happened at 79%. And here's Kim to tell us more.
As far as our blast of light that we're getting here, it is working. All of you are doing a great job. And we are at about 87% as of this morning. So that's a positive thing for us. Yes, and we expect it to increase. It's increasing by probably 1 to 4% per day. And the more we clear things out of its way, which we are doing all day long, every day, the faster it will move. So I'm guessing by next week, we should see a completion that will not be unwound. So these are positive things that are happening. I mean, like I said, we're kind of moving on into our own little world over here. You know, for us, it's all about complete systems control. That's front end, back end. You know, there's going to be no more hiding us anymore. The repository is large and in charge, again, invisible for all to see. So that we're sort of focusing on that aspect of it and not allowing, you know, anybody to, I shouldn't say anyone or anything, past or present, to try to mirror us or try to hide us in the background like they've done before when we've launched the repository several times, you know, and they've been able to push us back. So, or something has been triggered and pushes us back. The other thing I wanted to just touch on briefly that we found in the course of this cleaning and clearing, you know, to allow for this light to come in, was something I found really interesting. So in an agreement with source and source, or source and anti-source, I should say, there always was a governor, for lack of a better term, on planet Earth, and mainly because we were the gateway planet. And what I mean by a governor, and this also goes for computer systems, is even though we felt like we lived in a horribly dark world, and we did, for us, it was very, very dark. Mm-hmm. It's getting better. You know, we're seeing less and less attacks on this end of it. You know, where they're not able to affect us as much as they were before. So that's positive. And we're finding it easier and easier to have gratitude and love, you know, despite the craziness in this world, you know, as long as you focus on the positive things that are happening. So that being said, they never made it past 79% darkness on this planet. because every time they did or tried to push past that point to get to 80%, the governor, because the light side always had its part here, a governor would kick in. And by governor, I don't mean like governor of your state, kind of thing. I mean a meter. It would trip the meter and it would say, you're never going to get completely rid of the light on Earth.
Yeah.
This is also the reason why Alpha was always responsible, because we always held, even throughout the entire Dark Age, we always held at least 20% control. That's not only of the financial system, meaning giving of energy. Even though they overshadowed us with the dark system, that didn't mean that we still didn't have that 20% control. Mm-hmm. And we had control in many other ways. They would have gotten rid of us a long time ago if they could have. That's obviously, we're all still standing here. Most of us, other than tragedies of war and other things that have happened. But that is where that governor would kick in. And so whether it was a source or an anti-source thing, that's the way it was. And it would have been that way throughout all of the ages, be it a neutral age, a dark age, or a light age. And that's why when I say we're going into a forevermore age, it's more of like the golden age. It is a light age, but it's not an age. It's an existence now. Mm-hmm. Because of the refusal for balance on the other side. So that governor was finally tripped by source because there is no more anti-source and no more covenant there.
Right.
So we tripped that governor, meaning we're going into a light system here on Earth now, and we tripped that governor about 48 hours ago, and that's when source, and that's when we actually had the permission to remove the governor and move past it, which is how we got to the 87% as of this morning, my time.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Wow.
I know. There's a lot of interesting things.
Yeah.
Yep. So we will be allowed for the first time in the history of the universe for Earth itself to go to 100% light system.
I'm always amazed when Kim makes statements like that. It's like, for the first time ever, like, how old our planet is, right? And the universe and everything. So when statements like that are made, my mouth kind of drops, like at least in my head. I'm like, oh my gosh, we talk about this all the time. But this is why we are living through such an amazing time period. And if you are here and you're listening to this podcast, you are here for a reason. I truly believe that. And if you're not one of our enemies that's listening to this podcast right now, then it's for the light. It's to help us with this transition. You just got to figure out exactly what your role is, and that will come with time. So I thank you guys for listening to today's show. I encourage you guys to keep doing that research. Always keep an open mind. On the show, we talk about having a cup that is empty, because when your cup is empty, you are ready to receive information. When it is full, it's because you have filled your mind with ideas of the world, and the world has completely led us astray. So empty your cup as much as possible. Keep asking questions. Keep thinking critically. If you like what you heard today, or if you at least want to share it with someone else and get someone else's take on this, like, are these people crazy? Or what's going on here? What's your take on this? Please share this episode with people you care about, because we need to get the information. We need the real news out there, people, right? Quit with the fake stuff. We need real news. And if you want more information, you can subscribe to our newscasts and to all of our content at unitednetwork.tv. That gets you on-demand access to all of the UNN newscasts, our complete world situation reports with Kim. We have original series. We've got great health and wellness videos, so there's always something new coming out. You can also connect with us on Telegram. So remember earlier when I said, you can watch the Field Messenger reports? That's through one of our Telegram channels. So we have a Telegram channel that is focused on United Network News, and that's where those links are posted. So if you want all of these links to all of our channels, our Telegram stuff, to be able to connect with us, our websites, all that good stuff, you want to go to unitednetwork.news/connect. And I will put that link in the episode description so you guys have it. and hopefully we will see you there. This is The Rundown, and I'm Sunny Galt for United Network News, signing off.